Okay, today's video we're going to talk about how to basically improve any Facebook campaign that you have. Okay. If you have a Facebook campaign running now, I'm going to tell you how to basically for sure get more ROI out of what you're doing in case you're not satisfied with the ROI that you're getting, which is you're probably not. That's why you're here, of course. If you tried Facebook ads and couldn't get it to work because the ROI wasn't enough, I'm going to be able to put into writing here for you how to actually get the campaign to work, basically assuming that you want to put the work in to actually get it done. So I'm going to go through and give you several examples of where I've used this my go-to method here to get a Facebook campaign to work, get a better ROI in general from the different clients we have here where we do that. And the formula I use for that, I'm going to go through on this video and show you how to do that. So basically, by the end of the video, you do have a turnkey way to go out there and get a Facebook campaign working for you if it wasn't before, or just get more out of it, get a better return. And so with that, I'll tell you step by step kind of how to do that basically. And that's the main thing that I'll be covering in this video. So with that said, I'll get right into it and explain a little bit about what the strategy is about, and then I'll tell you about the strategy itself, how to execute it, so you can go ahead, go out and do this for yourself whenever you want to get that better return. So first of all, you guys or gals that have tried Facebook or tried Facebook or are already using Facebook, there generally is always a way to get your campaigns to work better if you want to put time into what you're doing, which is through a thing called sub-segmenting your campaigns to be more relevant to whom you're selling to. And so, there's a whole thing kind of in business that I'm sure you've heard the saying, or maybe if you have not. In business, if you try to be relevant to everybody, you're relevant to nobody. And as you're doing PPC, this is very much similar, okay? If you try to target too broad, and try to go after everybody, you're so, broad in your messaging basically that you're not seeming relevant enough to individual customers. Therefore, then to get a good response rate from your ads, and if you don't get even a high click-through rate on your ads, i.e. the number of times someone clicks versus how many times the ad is shown, then what you're paying to get a click is much, much higher than what it would be. And conversely, if you try to be more specific in what you're saying and start talking to individual customers or types of customers versus all the customers that you have as a whole, therefore you'll get a higher click-through rate, you'll pay less per click, and then that will be a way to get more ROI or actual sales per dollar of ad spend from your campaigns if you can go ahead and do that. And so respectively, as it pertains to business, if you're starting out in business and you try to go, take on a market like, let's just say business card printing. Well, there's so many different companies out there that it's such a wide niche that it's hard to compete head on. People that have a lot of money and a lot of time, we'll just say, are already doing that. So if you're going to go against them, it's hard to have a competitive edge. Versus if you go after somebody who wants individual, let's say, specialized sign printing for specifically, signs that are supposed to go on the side of a building. That there's not as many companies doing that. So if you were to come up with an ad and landing page that talked about how your service is really good for this specific thing, and given the bigger companies are going to not worry about that because there's so few customers in that individual bucket of type of customer, you have the market kind of to yourself. And so you may not be able to sell very much to those type of customers because there only is so many. But if you go ahead and you put the time in to make sure your messaging will speak to that specific type of customer, then you've eliminated all your competition and you'll get super high click-through rates. Therefore, your ROI will be really high in comparison to going after the high volume customer types or high volume markets head on and go head on with everybody else. If you're new in business, you basically niche down to a point where basically you have no customers left. And then even if you're crappy at what you're doing in terms of marketing, because you're so relevant to who you're speaking to, it works. It's like a business on training wheels. And then so with PPC and even just we're talking about Facebook here, Facebook in general, it's the same way. If you niche down enough, you'll be so relevant to who you're speaking to that it almost has to work. Okay, so if you're really new at Facebook in terms of how to get things to work, you start super narrow, go after just one customer type, and then from there, as you get more confident, you can either add more customer types in terms of campaigns to speak to more customer types individually on a one-by-one basis, or you could start going after a broader audience because your skill level is higher. So if you can't get things to work, you simply go after smaller buckets of customers, and you perhaps even invent new types of products that can go after a very specific subset of customer, which there's a market there, but there's nothing out there that specifically is marketed just to those people yet, and make a mint doing that, which is in part of the examples I'm going to share on this video how to do. So anyway, long story short, if you want to make more money with Facebook, you simply subsegment down further. And there's a point where it will get a return, and as your skills get better, you can go after wider markets. But that's basically how to get a better return every time. With that said, I'm going to explain to you then how, and this is my go-to, anytime I have a client that comes to our agency here, our PPC agency, asking for more Facebook profit margin or ROI from a campaign, this is my go-to. I'm always going to be first thinking about how I can sub-segment what we're doing, and making a list of all the customer types that we have, and how do we create something that can speak to each of one of those customer types better individually, because that's always going to lead to more profit. So with that said, I'll give you some examples of what this is about, but in general, there's always two ways to sub-segment your campaign on Facebook. There's the ad/offer, which is one of the same, basically what you're offering and how you're framing it inside of your ad, and you can add the landing page with that. And then of course you can sub-segment your targeting. You may be able to find, instead of one big audience, you could find 5 smaller audiences to target. And with that, one customer type might be, even if you don't change your ad and offer, it might be more profitable, because ultimately that that type of customer is just more profitable than the others. But in general, the best form of sub-segmenting to get more profit from a campaign right away is to come up with a whole other offer completely, and that means at the very least coming up with something, that messaging and an offer that's good for one specific customer type, and that being your main way that this works. If you can create a way to go after a smaller group of people that are more that are more saturated with that type of customer who would buy what's now on your offer that's new, that's a way to enhance this. I'll just say also quickly here that with Facebook ads and Google ads is the same. You have your conversion tag set up. The people that you see advertising on Facebook that are spending a lot of money, let's say, those people have been advertising a really long time already, most of them, and you didn't necessarily see what they had to go through to get there. A lot of what it takes is just being able to lose money for a while until the algorithm figures out, Facebook's algorithm figures out what type of customers they should be sending your way, and then the campaign works, eventually breaks even, and then gets more and more profitable. And so the people who, the difference between the people that make it work long time and the 90% who don't is the people that make it work realize that you'll have to go through a period of time optimizing your ads and just getting data behind your ad to get it to work, and that's just a part of the game. Whereas the people that generally quit, the 90% that can't get it to work, so to say, they think it should work right away. They think it should be like a switch. You turn it on, it works. If it doesn't work, they turn it off again right away. And so the people that do make it work think of it as, I'm going to make this work no matter what. Whatever I lose up front, I'm going to make it up on the back end. And with that, and the reason why I bring that up is if you sub-segment your ads, you need less money to get things to work up front as well. So if you're not starting out with all that money, knowing that that's generally the process to get Facebook ads to work anyway, you sub-segment more. In a lot of cases, you know, kind of like with the examples I gave you here, you can get your thing to work in 30 days to where it's self-financing itself, and you don't need a lot of money. So instead of in replacement of money to get things, you know, gather data, get some momentum on your campaigns, you could just put more time in, go after a smaller audience and come up with a good message just for them. And then from there, you can come up with more customer groups to go after, you know, where you sub-segment all of your different customers into buckets, and then you just go after other buckets after that. Or eventually, of course, you have money, you can go after people on a broader basis, and because you got money to do that. So I just say, you know, recommend if you're starting out with little money, don't go after everybody in generally that you sell to. Go after a specific customer type only. More than likely, you won't go broke before it's profitable, and then you can survive and live to, you know, to the next, you know, day basically, as you need to go through this process. And respectively, yes, it'll take a bit more effort to do that than just to come up with a general offer. But again, you don't want to be in the position where you've ran out of money and you just think it doesn't work. Facebook ads doesn't work, because it does. It's all about how you do it, like any other PPC or online advertising, really. But with that said, I'm going to give you some examples here of basically how I've done this exact thing of sub-segmenting a campaign that worked, basically, and to get it to work in the future. So with that said, there's somebody in the legal space, specifically divorce law, where we have done this sub-segmenting thing. And this can be an example of what you do for your own stuff, sub-segmenting male versus female even, which you don't even have to come up with an offer for a customer type. It can be as simple as sub-segmenting the demographics, age, old versus young, knowing what a different one might want to hear. But male, female, in terms of sub-segmenting on the demographics level, is the main one, because that generally has, and a lot of markets there's a wide disparity versus one versus the other, we'll say, and when you try to cater to both at the same time, the campaign just won't work, which is kind of what happened in this case. So anyway, in this particular situation, this law firm had quite a few lawyers, and they had male versus female lawyers, and I looked at what they had. They were targeting a lookalikes audience, okay, trying to get people who were needing to get a divorce to, you know, contact them. That's the whole initial premise of this campaign. So with that said, what I did was I looked, and they had a video ad. I recommended to them to take the video and make 2 more videos. One that just has a male lawyer, one has a female lawyer on it, okay? Kind of guided them on the ad copy to use on the script or whatever. But basically, we took their one campaign that they had, and we created 2 new campaigns. You never don't want to overwrite a campaign. You just create 2 new campaigns, turn the other one on pause. One is going to target lookalikes. You can still target lookalikes, but lookalikes and must be male. And the other one is lookalikes and must be female. And with that, they each had a unique new video ad and landing page to go with it, and turned out working really well. If you're doing lookalikes, as a side note here, audience targeting, basically the lookalikes algorithm, the way that it works is Facebook kind of has like a million different data points as to what categories a person may fall into to basically profile you as a user. And of course, they get data from off of Facebook, any page with a lookalikes tag on it, or a lookalikes tag, like button on it. They gather data there. Conversion tag that people have from Facebook ads or on a bunch of websites. So they buy data from other websites, and they know a lot about pretty much who you are as a person, even what kind of websites you've been to, and so forth. And when somebody from a lookalikes campaign, somebody buys, they look at all those million possible categories you could fall into, and they see which ones you are. And then when somebody buys again, they compare those individual traits and categories that you fell into with the categories that the second person fell into, and see if there's an overlap. And then if there's an overlap, when the next bit of ads that they show are going to be to people, at least some of it, not all, but some, they're going to try to go after people with the overlapping trait, or the categories where the person had overlapping traits that were similar. And when you sub-segment your campaign out and you have lookalikes targeting, the traits, Facebook, will figure out faster what are those overlapping traits that ultimately are the ones that most of your customers would have that are similar in it, when they can do that on an individualized basis, given that there's different types of buyers that you have, and each type of buyer has their own profile of generally what makes them unique. And obviously, when you try to target, go with the lookalikes targeting everybody who buys from you, even if you only sell one product or service, you have people that buy for different reasons. For instance, if you have a weight loss product, they buy, maybe they're trying to lose weight for health reasons, or maybe they're trying to lose weight because they're obese, they have trouble getting around, whatever. But each type of buyer within that product or service that you're offering that people buy, they have different traits, and ultimately they can figure out a lot better how to target, given that they're going to be able to target each customer type individually, because the traits will match up quicker, is basically it. So anyway, this particular person, because they had the lookalikes and male, the lookalikes algorithm was only looking at male, the traits to find people that were male and going to be willing to hire them as a lawyer was quicker and easier for them to do, as if they would have had to look at male and female together, if you will. But the ad, by the way, so the video ad was simply, it was, as a woman, you deserve ... We specialize in helping women ... People that are going to get a divorce, a big part of why they're doing it, or their thought to get them kind of engaged at the time, is they want to get back at their other husband, wife, or whatever, and it's kind of like a little bit of an ego thing. And so when you say you deserve, and it's a woman speaking on behalf of other women, it really taps into that ego a lot more than if you just had a male speaking. And there's lots of lawyers out there that just specialize in helping women versus men because of this in this industry, which is part of the reason why we did this already. But we did the same thing on the male side. As a man, you deserve to not get the short end of the stick, blah, 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 blah. We specialize in helping men, whatever. Help the ROI of this campaign tremendously. On the landing page on Facebook, pretty much you just regurgitate what's on the ad. For on the women side, the woman lawyer that was speaking on the video, that same picture of that woman is on the landing page, and it just basically says the same thing. As a woman, you should get what you deserve, blah, 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 and then there's an opt-in form. But that campaign worked real well. Now the difference between subsegmenting male and female out like this, okay, and the ROI that the campaign got was a 3x difference. So the ROI of a campaign, 3x, three times ROI, now is 9 times ROI, or thereof. It wasn't exactly those numbers, but similar to that. And so the campaign worked fairly well. Okay. In the legal space, because the ticket size is so much, even though anytime you have a big ticket size and you're marketing on Facebook, you have a big advantage, because the ad space to get in front of people is generally the same price if you're selling a $50 item as if you're selling a $5,000 item. So you don't have to be that good at getting something for like a divorce attorney, because that's what they're selling their stuff for, is like $5,000 minimum, where a lot of times it's more than that. So just a little bit of work coming up with some, and it's worth spending the time coming up with a different message for each one of your type of clients that you have. It can work pretty dang good and pretty dang quick and worth it for you to do. But by itself, trying to speak to everybody, it just wasn't really working. So there's an example of how you could sub-segment what you're doing if you're in the legal space, or just in services in general. What you could do that's different potentially for your campaign here as well. With that said, second one here is for a product. So for you guys selling products out there, here's what you can do potentially. Now, respectively, in terms of getting a Facebook campaign to work, about 80% of our clients do actually just Facebook remarketing with us. Why? Because Facebook prospecting generally comes second after we've already milked what Google and Bing can provide for the client, and then we'll go after Facebook or LinkedIn kind of usually after that. But we'll do Facebook remarketing right away because we spend 10 to 20% of our client's ad budget on remarketing, because that gets the traffic you're driving in that is new to work basically twice as good. And if you didn't know that, that is the case. And follow-up is important. It's more important than not having any follow-up. But with that, this particular sign printing company was a print shop that also did sign printing, okay? Mainly did sign printing, or just put it that way. We were having them do Facebook remarketing, sorry. With that, you can get the sub-segmenting here to work for your advantage if all you're doing is remarketing, and which is what we were doing in this case for you guys that are just doing remarketing right now. With that, the Google campaign, and the reason why we do Facebook remarketing is to get the people from Google that clicked on our ads. Part of we want to remarket to them wherever they go, and if they're on Facebook, we remarket to them there, and about half of our remarketing budget goes to Facebook. But the person that went and the client said, how do we get more people that want the sign printing for a political campaign, given that's one of our juicy customer types? And with that, you can obviously improve the Google campaign, but one thing you can do, or we could do in that case, is the people who went to the political page, okay, on the site from the political campaign, we can have a remarketing audience set up for that. So on Facebook now, we can target them with that, we went after and have a message just for the political people instead of remarketing to everybody who wants that, sign printing. And so with the messaging, okay, we could say the election season special, and that in itself, because basically we know that what they want is for the sign printing for a political reason, obviously resonated with them a lot more than what they would have otherwise. In that case, though, just to spell out how this one little thing to, potentially improve your remarketing campaign on Facebook will make all the difference in the world, and if it is profitable, how to get more out of it. In this particular case, we got an additional 3x in terms of the click-through rate, and then ultimately the sales from that as well. So similar to the increase that we had on the divorce campaign lawyers stuff, which the divorce lawyer stuff was first click or driving new clicks, not remarketing, just to clear that up again. But in that particular case, that's one way to get more ROI from a campaign. You could just look at who's your best customer type and then sub-segment your remarketing campaign so that at least from the one main customer that you do want more of and you can't get more out of, just have a unique remarketing ad for them. And with that, you should be able to get 3x plus difference in how much you're getting from that remarketing campaign just by doing that one little thing. So that's another example of how this can be done. I wanted to throw that in there. Ultimately, if we were going after new traffic, okay, the same thing would apply. I wouldn't go after people looking for signs because it's too irrelevant. But once you start getting down into people that are going to need, that are potentially running for office or helping someone run for office, if we have a lookalikes algorithm going after somebody who's going to want the signs for a political campaign or thereof, the algorithm's going to find you a customer much easier, okay? And so with that, and then having a unique ad and landing page for that, it would work. Whereas if you target everybody as a whole for sign printing, it won't work. So that's something you got to think about if you are going to do a new campaign. Is what I'm saying relevant enough that I can realistically see somebody who is not intending to buy anything scrolling down through Facebook? Are they going to stop and actually click on our ad? Okay. With that, you usually also need to say, not what we just have a offer that's great for your, our product is good for people like you. Therefore, you should check it out. But you also generally, to make things profitable enough, say, we're actually running a special for people like you so that they can use the product for people, the purposes like you like to use it for, but it's only going to be good for this month. So you might, if you want this, and we don't normally do this, therefore it's only offered for a short time, you better click on this ad now. 10% off, 20% off, that kind of thing. You combine the fact that you've created a message now just for that exact customer type to initially pique their interest, and then you build up urgency in what you have by saying, we're going to give you something we don't normally give people because, of whatever reason, because it's, Christmas time, or it's, it's a July special or whatever, and that'll get you every time more response than just saying, hey, we have our product's great for people that want it for this, and we know people like you want it for this, therefore you should use it. Adding on for only this much time you get this extra bonus, you'll get almost twice as much response rate on your ad once you've done that. And that, works for any type of PPC ad where you add the limited time offer, get this extra, Google ads, whatever. But anyway, that's another kind of way to go about doing it if you're just running remarketing, or if you were going to run new traffic. That's the kind of thing you want to do. Look at all your customer types you have. Perhaps start with the customer type that's the most profitable, set up a campaign going after them, and offer them something special that seemingly they think they're so lucky that they saw your ad this month because you're running a promotion this month, and you're telling me it's great for people that are like me. I should take advantage of it. That's the type of funnel that usually works on Facebook. And I usually, in order to do new traffic acquisition campaigns, or we're not remarketing campaigns basically is what I mean there, for clients, I usually don't do those campaigns unless the client can work with me to get a unique offer going. We got to be able to drill down, go after one of the type of customers you have, and if we don't, we're not relevant enough to make the campaign work. That's usually just a straight up requirement to get things to work. Just to put things into reference for you here, what if you are struggling, this isn't stuff like nice to have stuff, this is like need to have stuff if you're going to get it to work. That said, the third example I wanted to share with you here, if you don't have a, like with the political sign printing, that person does that already. We were just trying to drill down and go after that one type of customer to get more out of them by being relevant to them, saying we had a special deal for them. You could just make up a new product and potentially try to develop a market yourself as another way about going and doing this. In this particular case, we had a DNA testing company, which is a company like 23andMe, where they send you a package out, you swab your sheet, you send your DNA sample back in, they come back and tell you your ethnicity mainly is what it's about you're this and you're that, and they'll tell you some other stuff about your DNA. One of the big things in that industry that was trending was, so it wasn't us that necessarily came out with the grand idea of trying to give people information about this, we'll just say, but was you could look at your DNA and you could find out if you have this MTHFR gene, which if you have this gene, you basically have a methylation problem, which I won't get into the nuances of that, but it causes some problems. And usually, if you have that, if you take some certain supplements in a course of supplements or whatever, maybe even a diet change, you could fix the side effects from that usually creates lethargy. Basically, you're tired, maybe not happy or depressed. And these are all things, obviously, let's just say 20-30% of all the people out there in like the US have. And so knowing that basically, so there's a way that even though we're not marketing to a smaller audience, but we create a unique product that can be sold to somebody new. So we're the only persons doing it. Therefore, we have no competition. So there's a lot of potential because there's a lot of people to sell to. But because we created something unique that basically our product already does solve, but we created something unique, now we're relevant enough to have the ad space we're paying for on Facebook pay off, get the click-through rate up so the cost per click comes way down, and ultimately sell what we have. Whereas if we sold the DNA testing by itself, there's already so much competition. We went after, you know, the general market out there as a whole. We're not going to make it work. Going after people that are depressed versus somebody who wants a DNA test, the market's actually even bigger. But in that case, we just created a Facebook ad. We set up lookalikes targeting. Again, it's great when you can use lookalikes looking for a very specific person, because the algorithm is very efficient at finding you other people that are exactly like that person when you're looking at a very, very, very specific customer that you're going for. But the ad was like, feel tired all the time, find out if it could be fixed. And so the idea being is, yes, we have a DNA testing company here. There's nothing unique about that per se, but you can find out if you have this, and we'll be able to recommend you, and if you're interested, we send you some supplements that will be able to fix that problem. So some of the other companies out there didn't offer the supplements. This company did as a part of this offer. And this goes back to what I said before. Usually if you're going to do Facebook ads to get prospecting ads, to get new people that don't know anything about your site or you, or been to your site at all to work, you have to actually create an offer for it to work. Something that's going to be really interesting. So, because again, when somebody's scrolling, you got to be able to really have something impactful for them to take their time out of trying to browse their, friends and family's photos to actually click on your ad. Got to think about it from the consumer's perspective to make it work. But if you say, are you tired all the time? And I'm tired and have been tired and I've been thinking that gets my attention right away. And then seeing that I can spend, $200 for a DNA test, and then from there, it says that basically 15% of people have this problem, so there's a 15% chance that they'll tell me the answer to why I'm tired all the time. Heck yeah, I want that. And with that, of course, what the supplements in order to fix the problem, you can get reoccurring income on that, which is, they didn't focus on that as much, but they offered that so you could get it sent to them regularly. They mainly were just interested in selling more DNA tests. And that's what we did, okay? So unique ad for that, and the unique landing page that talked about the MTHFR gene specifically, what it's about, why it affects people, why it's easy to fix. And then, of course, if you want to fix it, just simply, you just got to book a DNA test. We'll get you exactly what you need. And you look like you're speaking to them enough, targeted enough that why else would they go to do this anywhere else? Nobody else is speaking to them like this, and even if they could research and get it done cheaper, it's just too much work. But in that particular case, the difference between running a PPC campaign for this, which is in a very competitive, saturated space already now, they weren't the only person besides 23andMe that does DNA testing. Now there's 20 companies, and even back then when I did this, there's still 5 to 10 companies. And most of the people you're battling against going after the brand name 23andMe, so it's really tough to get any kind of Facebook campaign to work. You don't have any edge. We were forced to, as most people will be, to come up with a unique offer so we have something that can pull attention well, and it worked extremely well. We had a 7x return increase on top of the return they were getting without it, which the return from it was less than 100% ROI. So basically, it didn't even have, not even close to the amount of money what it cost to deliver the service. We didn't even get back more revenue basically than what we were spending on the ad spend itself, let alone all the expenses. But once this was done, it worked like gangbusters. So yes, Facebook can work extremely well and can be worth your time, but you have to think outside the box sometimes, come up with something that can be sold to a certain customer type you have. Go ahead and look at your customer service logs and your sales, go interview your salespeople, find out what people are buying your product or service for nowadays, and create a unique product or service around catering to that customer type, and then just try to hook up a lookalikes campaign and go after them specifically. It may work. If it doesn't work, try a different type of customer type. In general, as is if you're coming up with a product for any for a company, an idea for a company, an idea for a product to sell, for any new company you would like to set up, the chances of your product working isn't great. But if you try 4 or 5 different ideas, you'll probably find one that works, which is kind of the odds, if you will, to do it. Even if you do all your research, it may be hit, maybe it won't. You may have to try out a few of these. One hits, but when it hits, you're going to make millions of dollars off of it long term. And with Facebook, generally speaking, most people in your market aren't going to be able to see your ad running, so it'll go running stealth for a long time before they even can copy what you're doing. And it's all automated after that. A funnel like I described here for this DNA company, for going after people that are potentially want to fix their lethargy, being tired all the time, it just spits out orders once it's set up. And the unique product, they didn't have to change their operations basically at all to fix that. Whatever information they needed to know, all of that work was done on the landing page. So you just get orders for a product that are the same product that you offer anyway, but it was just framed differently. So you could make up a brand new product that you didn't have before to go after people that, specifically, that specifically you don't formally offer a solution for, but you're going to create it. It may be you after your main customer type, or you want to see, your product can help a certain type of customer. Maybe 1 or 2 people have asked about it before, but you want to develop the market and you create a product for them, and then try to have Facebook find you people that have that unique problem and would consider using your product or service to fix it. Other notes that I want to bring up here before I wrap this up. Basically, sometimes you can switch to more specific audiences from lookalikes. So I mentioned before, to sub-segment your campaign and get a higher ROI from what you're doing on Facebook, you can customize the ad or offer, like I said before, like the MTHFR gene testing or whatever down here. We're looking to see if this gene is affecting you being tired. That's an example of changing the ad or offer. But the targeting itself, you may or may not sub-segment the target. You could just take the lookalikes and just have 2 lookalikes campaigns with 2 different ads and 2 different landing pages. Or you could have 2 different offers specifically, and each campaign can have a little different targeting from the other campaign. Like we gave you with the lawyer, where we had one just with male and one just with females in it, and then specifically each one had its own ad for just males and one ad just for females. Respectively, if you are using the lookalikes targeting, my point here is you can consider, in this particular case, for example, with the genetic testing, as I mentioned, instead of just keep using lookalikes for this new offer, maybe you can find an audience that Facebook has pre-populated of people that have depression, and you could go after them. And then you can create, instead of 1 campaign, you can create 10 campaigns, 1 targeting depression, 1 targeting anxiety, which both of those are caused by people that have not the right diet and have this actual gene as a part of their genome. And you could keep going with it. So that's another way to sub-segment, if you will, and you maybe just find that the lookalikes isn't the way to go with your new offer. You really want to go after your customers with a new offer and a different audience, both. So if you're most of the people that are looking for new customers on Facebook, they're not targeting people who've been to their site or their current customers. They're looking at lookalikes. But the sub-segmenting the audiences, given one audience generally doesn't cover all the customers you want, try creating a bunch of campaigns, each one targeting one different type of audience, and just find out through all those audiences which ones work, which ones don't. And that could be your ticket to success, or just get a little bit more ROI, because you need a little bit more ROI to make everything work, be profitable. The other 2 things here, I mentioned this on another video, you can add a city to the start of your video or ad. So the example of this, if you have a video ad, you could say, hey Denver, and then instead of targeting the US, completely USA wide with your campaign like you may have been doing before, you could create a campaign for each of the top 20 cities and to go along with your campaign that targets the whole nation. And in your video ad that you have, before the video starts, you edit it so the beginning says, "Hey Denver," and then you go into the rest of the ad, and that gets people's attention. And you would, of course, on the text part of the ad, the headline, say, "Hey Denver" as well, so that, of course, if they haven't watched the video, they'll see that. That in itself a lot of times can double the click-through rate on your ad, and therefore would double the ROI just from that one simple change, because it gets their attention more effectively. The hardest thing with your Facebook ads really is getting that person's attention as they're scrolling down their feed. That's why the offer, a unique offer that's really cool, that they may have not seen every day, works. But when you add that with saying what their location is, it makes it even more effective and get an even higher response rate. So you can consider doing that. It could be the city, it could be the state, could be a neighborhood, depending on what you're doing. And so respectively, you could sub-segment by creating a bunch of campaigns for all the different states and then do things that way. If you have a static image ad or whatever, or carousel ad, you could just simply put the city name in the ad itself, in the image. So if you have whether you're using a video ad or an image ad, doesn't matter. That same thing can be done. Works similarly either way. But if you're using a video, you want the city name or whatever in the text part of the ad as well, where you have text versus just the video, which I already mentioned. But the last one is limited time offers. I already mentioned this basically on this video, but just to rehash it, on this political campaign, I mentioned elections. The offer for the political people that would want the sign printing specifically for a political campaign itself, we added the election season special, because it's election season right now, to get that person's attention even more so. So respectively, if you can tack on at the end of your offer, which is normally where it goes, this month only, January only, 4th of July weekend only, whatever, you'll generally upwards of 2x the amount of response rate you get from your stuff even more. So you start adding in these extra things you can do, you can keep getting more and more ROI from your overall, what you're trying to do, creating a new offer for a subsegment of who you're selling to right now. And you could create, a offer just for your best customer type, the political people that want sign printing for a political purpose. Then we could say for election season only, which will get more response. And then we could say also, "Hey Denver, election season special, sign printing just for political campaigns," and then get even more. So the adding the city to the ad and sub-segmenting that way, and adding your offer that's only a limited time, and then once the offer's up, you generally just make a new offer, so the ad always has a limited time offer on it. You'll get more. And of course, if you're looking, if you want to sub-segment your targeting so that you have instead of one targeting option, you do a campaign with each targeting option broken out individually, respectively, that can boost your ROI. So those are other things that you can just add to everything that I mentioned here to get more ROI out of a campaign. That said, that's everything I wanted to share with you today. I have a blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog with step-by-step instructions on how to build PPC campaigns the way that I build them, like what I was talking about here and other campaigns, on a more step-by-step basis. If you want to see information along those lines, you can find it there. I have a ton of other videos on this channel about other PPC strategies, over 300 videos. If you want to learn more about how to actually be really good at PPC, this is one of the best pieces of sets of information you can find on YouTube about how to be good at PPC, Google ads, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, and so forth, tracking that you can find here on YouTube at all. Might want to check that out. With that said, if you have any questions about Facebook campaigns, how to sub-segment things that I should have clarified and didn't, leave me a comment down below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel, usually within a day or two. That said, hope you enjoyed the video, hope you got something out of it, hope it's going to help you make more money with your campaigns in the near future, and I hope to see you on my next video that comes out in another day or two time with another great strategy on it. See you then.